Just stepping up.
I need to go find a second opinion. I just been too lazy to do it.
There's just so much stuff going on.
I know, yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome back after our successful journey and return from New York City. Did everyone make it? Raise your hand if you're not here. Okay, that joke's dead. Funny. All right, so a couple things to start before we go into actually making little chips and drilling holes and everything. The schedule was just changed. We were on the Google Sheet saying like Wednesday is like the final review for the lamp. That's total fiction. We just put it there months ago, not knowing where we'd be right now. So if you were terrified of something you saw on the Google Sheet, just ignore it. The end of, I think the last day you can be done is like the 16th of May. Is that correct? Because after that I have to put in the grades. Okay. So you have more time than our Google Sheet thing said, but you don't have endless time. What was the other thing? Open invite to you guys for coming to my house as a group, as individuals, anytime during the summer or basically whenever you're not totally stressed. It doesn't matter. Come down.
When you're stressed, you won't invite us.
You probably won't. You wouldn't even know how to pick up the phone and dial if you guys are stressed enough. I live near the beach, and there's lots of woods around me. You can go walk in the woods, you go hiking, whatever.
I'm already going. So.
Yeah, yes, that's right. He's gonna live underneath the barn for a week.
I'm using his shop.
Yeah. So when you're not officially at IDM, you can use my shop. Kind of. I'm not allowed to let you guys use it for the manufacturing class. So those of you who got in under the wire are lucky because I can't do that anymore. So yes, think about it. There's no commitment involved. If the timing works for all involved parties, like if I'm actually going to be there, then we can make it work. Okay. There was a third thing that I can't remember. That's why I have a TA. Let's see if he remembers. Nope. Okay, good. We must be done. The TA says I'm done.
You're done.
Okay, so today I'm going to make these two things connect. Okay? It's very simple in concept. Remember, we made these bosses with the intention of having them with screw holes in them, right? Well, as it turns out, sorry, I'm blowing our YouTube footage here. I have a whole thing full of the right size drill bits and a whole thing full of these teeny tiny screws that these are intended for plastic. So this is plastic. These screws are intended for plastic. They'll grab in nicely and they won't be a pain. They're not going to strip out. So I'm going to just really quickly, that's right, it's turbo. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to really quickly flatten out the top of the boss because remember we had to put our vents in the top, right? So, oops, okay, safety glasses in the front row, please. This is like the Blue Man Group. Everyone gets a raincoat. Okay, that took how long? That was pretty easy. A lot of you are concerned about that. I wasn't because I've done this before. Okay, good. So I can actually use this same technique to roughly cut the vents off the top. If I want to do that, I might decide to file them down if I don't want to risk chipping anything, right? And I'm going to fix this later. It's not critical to me installing this right now. Because once everything's installed, I can just take it apart and paint this. Okay, but there's a little bit of work putting the holes in. Okay, so with only the normal amount of delay in my presentation, I will now going to use this to mark a hole in the top of the bosses, right? And I know that when I glued the bosses in place, they matched up the underside they matched up the whole pattern pretty well. So I know if I get one sort of centered and put the screw in there, then I can attach it in that one place and then swing the thing around until I think it's in a good spot and then mark and drill the other 3 holes. Does that make sense? And this does not need to be precise down to even the millimeter, just because no one's going to see this. It's going to be upside down. No one's going to see it. I'm going to do a neat job though because I'm IDM proud. Okay, so I encourage that. Okay, this is called a pin vise. See, pin vise. Nadie was waiting for me to show her this for a week. I just found them. I have small drill bits right here that are specifically made for, well, they are the right size to use with these little tiny screws, okay? So I'm going to put them all in this bag. You see the green, very lightweight, the screws are tiny, but I'm going to put the drill bits in here for those of you who are going to use this method to attach. Okay, everyone follow that? Okay. So this is nothing more than a teeny tiny little drill chuck like we have on the drills in the other room. Okay? And I'm not even sure if this one opens up far enough to use this. There we go. Okay, so just doing that, and I'm just checking to see, I'm just going to spin it, and you know what? It looks pretty good. I was checking to see if I was off by like a large amount, because sometimes that happens. I can either drill this in by hand, or I can put this into a larger drill like this. See? So now I have a tiny little drill attached to a big drill, where the tiny drill bit might not have gone in here by itself. This drill bit probably would have, because it's big enough. But this little vise will hold tiny little drill bits, okay, which we do have. Okay.
Wasn't it wobbling?
Well, because this is not the high precision machine that. I mean, this is a $6 implement. So, and because typically you can get really good ones, but for you guys, I got 2 of them for $6 each, rather than 1 for $100 each. Okay. Where these are both going to get lost before they get broken. So, I didn't want to run that risk or spend the money. I'd rather spend the money, in New York City on foolish things than on good tools. So I need a piece of tape. Is there a piece of scrap tape anywhere? Anybody just look around?
One quick note to what Angie said about the drill bit sizes. Those nominal sizes are on these charts, and this is something you could Google if you're in zero doubt, and this will give you the nominal size, the size in millimeters, the size in inches, so on and so forth. So if there's ever any confusion about what drill bit to use or what you would use before you tap a hole or all that kind of stuff, it's all there. It's on the cloud if you don't have one of these things next to you.
Okay, I've just wrapped the drill bit in tape. Okay, that tape is going to be my measuring device so that I don't drill all the way through this thing. Okay, so I've got this, and I held up my little screw, and it's about the same distance. But also, once I consider that, once I add in the thickness of this, I have plenty of depth into my boss to accept the screw and hold things in place. What I don't want to do is have the hole not going far enough, because then as I'm tightening the screw in, I will want to go in tighter, and if it's bottoming out on the bottom of the screw, it'll strip the threads out. Okay, so I'd rather have the hole go a little deeper. I've got a couple different size screws in here. The one I'm using is a 4mm. There may be other sizes. I think they will. Okay. I think I just got the 4mm, and that's going to be plenty of grabbing power for you. Okay, so this doesn't even really have to go in super normal or straight. You know what I mean by normal? Just square to that surface. It doesn't really need to be that, because it's not going to hold anything more crazy than this little LED thing. And using a power drill is faster, but it's also high risk, because if you accidentally whoops and go too far, you've very efficiently ruined your part. Where this is slightly less efficient, but it's more controllable. Okay. So I've put my little power connector on this, right? When we have it on the computer, we use the big USB-C, but when it's going to be installed in the lamp, you're just going to use these 2 little power leads, okay, that came with your device, okay? And I've clicked them up here, and I've run them through this hole, and they are going to go out this way, right? Before I make this attachment permanent, I'm gonna get these screws in there, and then I'll take it out, and I'll tell you why. Because then I'm going to make this fit right here, okay? And I'm going to run a file in and out of this hole, and if this electronics are in there, I'll probably smash into the electronics, okay? But I wanted to get first things first. I wanted to get this screwed in place. So I've only done one of the holes, right? You saw that. I'm going to take one of these tiny little screws. The correct thing to put that in is a really tiny Torx wrench. Or a star fitting. It's a hexagonal shape, but it's got a little star shape, a little bit of a star shape to it. We don't have those. I checked. We don't have anything that small. But I can use sort of the wrong tool. This is a hex tool, okay? So there's plenty of engagement to put that in, okay? Even though it's technically not the correct tool. This happens to be one of the inch sizes. The metric sizes don't fit. So, but it's sort of a mismatch. So, I'm just, I guess, showing you that you don't always need exactly the right wrench size. You can usually find a way around it, okay? So I'm dropping the screw in here. Okay. Now I don't need to go all the way in. I just want a little bit of something in there. Now I'm looking at the top to make sure I'm not outrageously off center, right? And I'm going to go to the opposite corner right now. And I can see through that hole. I can see the whole thing. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to put it right in the center of that one, the way I put it in the center of that one. And I think I'll be close enough because there's this hole here, the mounting hole, is considerably bigger around than the size of the screw. Okay, what is the screw? I think it's it's some trade size. Yeah, I'd have to measure it. Anyway, this might be 1.5 millimeters, and I think the hole might be 3 millimeters. Okay, so you've got plenty of room for this to wiggle around. So you don't need to have the screws in exactly, you don't have to have the holes perfect to have this work, which plays to our ability to be super creative but not super precise sometimes when we're doing stuff, by hand like this. So.
Excuse me.
All right, so now I'll put that one right there. And while that's there, I'll mark the other 2 holes. So when I tell you that these things don't need to be super precise, your response should be, "Thank you, Andy." That means it will take 15 less minutes out of my life, because I know that really matters right now. Okay, so I'm taking my little tiny drill bit. Everybody see this? This is, again, you've seen me do this already. Let me just get up here to see the hole. There's the hole right there. How's everybody's lamp going anyway? Too bad. I hear laughter. I hear exasperation. I hear complete lies. I'll just say again, it's a quarter of your grade. I know this is MIT and things are crazy, but please don't wait until the last minute to be awesome. Also, I just remember what else I was going to say in the beginning. From now on, I think there's that means the next 3 weeks, 2 weeks. There's a number of Fridays, maybe 3 of them. I'm going to be here on Fridays. Okay, so reach out to me, and if you want, make appointments, office hours, whatever you want to call it. I'll be here because I know a lot of you really only have time on Fridays to meet with somebody like myself. So please take advantage of that, starting this coming Friday. Okay. And that's for workshop, that's for studio class, whatever you need. Dorm furniture, just talk to me. So now I have 2 of them in here. I'm going to put the 2 back in, and since I couldn't easily see the marks that I made, but once I get it screwed in with 2, I can drill the other two holes because I know that they're in the right place. Does that make sense? You guys are all losing it, aren't you? You're falling asleep. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so we know what I'm going to do with that part, right? We know how that works. Great. So I'm going to go to just skip a bit and start cleaning up this hole where this wants to go. Okay, and this stuff machines beautifully, meaning it works with tools very well. Okay. This stuff is not as hard as the plastic that it's representing. Okay, it sands well, it files well, drills well.
Why are you filing it there?
Well, I'm cleaning up where at this part of the mold there was a little bit of flash. Do you remember we talked about flash? Mm-hmm. There was just resin where it maybe didn't exist on this, but it's on this because the mold was a little funky, right? So I'm just getting rid of it. And you can see like there's a little chunk of resin right here that wasn't in the mold. There's some stuff right here. I can clean all this stuff before I paint it. But right now I just want to make sure all the pieces fit together. Everyone understand? Everyone good on that? Okay. Okay, that's not bad. So if I wanted this to have more range on the downward direction, I would simply take my file, which I'm going to do, and open up the hole vertically. Like I'll open up a little bit on the top, a little bit on the bottom, and then it'll have more room to bend downward. Okay, so let's see how much it takes to do that. Okay, it's a little bit better, right? I can continue that until I'm happy with it. But again, that's a tune-up that you don't need to endure. I just know that I'm going to be playing with it to get it just right. Okay. The other feature of these of the top is these little wings, these little ears, right? I'm going to put a hole through that so that I can put an actual hinge pin, which might be like a piece of paper clip. So I'll find something like that. And measure the thickness of it, right? And then I will go through the drill bits, which I have over here. This is the teeny-weeny drill bit department.
Oh wow, that's so cute.
These are tiny, and they're invaluable. They start at around a millimeter, and they go down to. Smallest one is 13 thousandths, which is that right? 13. Yep. 13, and it's basically just about a little bit bigger than a quarter of a millimeter. And you can see how many drill bits there are. There's a lot of gradation so that you can find the right size. These are all in decimal inch. So if you need a quick conversion, you can go over there and find decimal inch. Or this thing works pretty good as a calculator, or I'm sure there's plenty of things on your phone where you can say, okay, I found this piece of wire that I want to use as a hinge, for instance, and it's 0.46 millimeters. You can pretty easily convert that to inch. I can't find these little things in metric, so I have to buy them in inch. It's because America. Okay. So I'm going to mark where I want this to happen, okay, and I'm seeing right away that I've got a little glob of material where, like, the mold, there might have been a little hot glue or a little bit something in there, so I have too much material. So before I locate that little hole, I'm going to go in and file it out, okay? And I promise you won't have to watch me do tedious little stuff for the whole day. I just want you to know that this is how I'm doing this. Okay, because when I'm done here, I'm going to just switch over really quickly to the wiring, which we're all going to have to think about, and that'll be my first time taking this thing apart and running wiring. So you'll get to see me panic. All right. the other side too. Okay, so now when I get to the point where, let's say I find my little piece of wire, the wire that we have on spools will work too. Right near you, Jill, there's one right in front of you. This stuff, I could easily make this work. It's okay, this is just over a millimeter. It's 0.41 inch. A millimeter is 0.039, so it's pretty damn close. Anyway, I could find a drill bit that works for that, or go a little bit oversized. I can drill. I'll probably mark and drill both sides, because the chance of going through and hitting my mark on the other side are probably not very good. So I'm going to drill in this way towards the center line and drill in this way towards the center line. Remember, we've got a hole in the middle, so the two sides don't necessarily need to line up perfectly. Okay, although in theory, if they do, they'll meet right in the middle of that hole, right? And we have a little budgeting issue with space. We have to get wires to go in and out of there. Okay, so I'm probably going to have my wire hinge be two pieces of wire that go in and leave the center portion open, so I don't have to deal with a blockage in the wire. Okay. I've also already drilled a hole in the inside of the arm, right? Everybody see that? Where it's going to fit in here. I plan to put the wires in through the acrylic part, right? Sorry, I keep forgetting I'm on TV. In through the acrylic, so I'll leave the wood untouched. Okay, and this is in a good spot so that I can tunnel using a machine tool or a hand drill right through. I've already actually marked where I'm going to do that inside there. Okay, so this is, and I'm doing this for you so that you'll have a strategy, you'll have some idea. Okay, what is Andy thinking? How is he doing it? And is there a better way? The answer is probably yes, but this is the way I'm doing it. Okay. So this gets attached in here. Okay, and we are going to have to do something with these wires. Okay, I'm going to have to connect them to these wires. Well, we know how to solder, or at least we were taught to solder. So we probably might. Some of us will remember how to do that. Some of us are really good at that already. Okay. We used to have little tiny shrink tubing.
Yeah.
We don't really have that. I don't know.
We have it there.
Oh, it's over there?
No.
Oh, in the other room?
In the IEC.
Okay.
Yeah, they have really tiny ones.
So when you have two wires that close to each other, and then you solder them together to other wires, and then you shove them into a confined space, they're going to short out, meaning they're going to touch each other, and then nothing's going to work. So in production, there's several ways to fix that. One is never have a joint, never join wires somewhere where you can't see them. Okay, this isn't a production exercise, so we're going to skip that advice. What we're going to do is before we solder things together, I'm going to slide a little piece, maybe 5 millimeter length of something called shrink wrap tubing. Okay, I'm going to slide it on. I'm going to join them with solder. I'm going to put one on each side, right? A piece of tubing on each side. When the solder joints are done, I'm going to move that piece of shrink wrap tubing over the joint, and then using a little bit of a heat gun or something, I'm going to heat up, and it's pre-stretched, and it's polyethylene or something, and a little bit of heat will cause it to shrink, right? And then you have two wire joints that are underneath protection, and that's what we want. And if two of them together won't fit in here, then I'm going to cut one of these wires short, and have the joint be staggered, so that we won't have two large pieces of something right next to each other. There's one down here and one up here, so that there's enough room. Does that make sense to everybody? That's a basic strategy for optimizing what limited space we have in here. Okay. As it turns out, we don't really need to have that many wires go up to here. Okay, but we do have to have a wire coming down from here to the other smaller light that I'm going to put into the base. So I need to have a budget of space in here of 3 of these tiny little wires. For that, there's plenty of room. Okay. Also, I'm developing a strategy for attaching this to the base. Okay, because I know that a lot of you are going to have to do the same thing. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and sort of make a little trench right in here, Where's the, do we have the Forstner bit available? Okay, so I'm going to use something like this, but it can be a milling machine, end mill, it can be anything. I just want to put a hole right here, and I want to go deep enough so that I can put a screw into that hole and then drill another hole, or maybe from this side, drill a hole in straight or perhaps angled just slightly so that I can get the screw in there. Should I draw this on the board?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what we'd have then, the reason I'm doing that is so I can screw the thing in from underneath, and you won't see the screw on the outside. Okay, that's my goal with this. I don't want to have...
You can also just paste it.
Just what? Glue the whole thing in? But then I can't take... I thought about that, and yes, that's an option that you may wish to pursue. But then, let's say I have something wrong happening in here. I can unscrew these and take the wood off, but let's say that I've glued it to the acrylic, right? The arm and the acrylic would then be sort of permanently attached. Might not be the end of the world, but I want to pursue something with a fastener.
Okay.
Because in production they wouldn't just glue it. Now, of course, this is going to go sit in your room. It's somewhere in your life, maybe forever, if you wanted to, unless you are sick of it in a couple of weeks. So, the aesthetic is up to you. If you want screws going in, you want to see a fastener, that's great. You can actually go and spend a whole lot of money on getting really nice-looking fasteners going there. I'm going to show you how to hide the fastener underneath. Okay.
And then do you put something over that as well to hide that?
If I feel it necessary, sure, I can put a plug on there. But if I want to gain access to the inside, I'd probably leave it open. And since I already have a hole here from the construction, right, and then these 3 holes, which are going to have rubber feet on them, it's not like I'm trying to make the bottom beautiful. So I could afford to, cosmetically, I can afford to have a hole in the bottom, and it doesn't affect anything. Okay, so let me draw what I mean. Dry erase. Thank you. You know what? I can probably draw right on this table so that it'll go out to the TV world.
Can you though?
We'll give it a second. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. The texture is a little dubious.
It's taking forever to dry. Okay.
Can I give you a paper? You can get a paper here and write your camera ready.
We're going to get a nice feedback loop. Okay. So, the lamp.
That's very good.
Oh, that's cheating. Somebody put that in the trash can. Yes.
Our videos, they're public, right? Should they be?
We know where they are, but we don't, tell anybody else.
Okay.
There's a link that you can access all the stuff that we do.
Yeah, no, because I think one of them just came up once.
And it's
That might have
just
just been me not setting it correctly, so if you have something like that, just let me know.
Okay, okay.
That was my bad if it's
No.
not public.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we've got, here's the bottom of the lamp, upside down, and let's say we have, let's put my arm goes right here, okay, so it does that, right? That makes sense? Everybody see that? I want to put a screw, I'm going to put a hole right there, right? And it's going to be, I don't even know, maybe 20 millimeters deep, because I've got plenty of room in the wood to do that. And then I'm going to drill from this side. I'm going to take the arm out, right? And then drill a hole through from somewhere. I'm going to put my fastener in the wood. You're free to do either the wood or the acrylic. It's up to you. I'm going to put the fastener somewhere right in the middle of my wood area, so that I know that if I screw it in tight, I can take off the top if I need to, and it won't weaken the connection between the base and the arm. Okay. So this probably isn't super clear, so I'm going to do a section. Imagine this is all a beautiful engineering drawing, right? And I've got, let's see, my section here. So this is the notch where the arm goes, right? Everybody see that? I'm going to drill a hole right here with the big bit, and it's basically just giving me clearance so that when I drill my hole here, I'll be able to get a screw into there, and it's going to stick out about that far. From here, from about here down, I don't need to have the opening freed up. I don't need I'm not going to send wires down below this, so I can have this go basically right into the cavity and through it if I want to. I just want to make sure that when I put that hole in there, I don't go through here. Now, I'm not going to try to make this hole precise in the arm itself. Okay, that hole is for the wire, but I'm going to put another one down here for the screw. I'm going to make it oversized because what I'm going to do is when I have all my holes lined up, I'm going to put wax on the screw. I'm going to wax it and then clean the wax off, right? And then I'm going to put it into my hole there, and I'm going to put epoxy in this hole over here, right? And then put the thing together, and the screw will be going into, and let's pretend this is the hole I'm talking about. It'll go in there. This is full of epoxy, right? The epoxy cures, but the screw has wax on it. I've just created threads. So now I can unscrew it. And as long as I don't try to use like power equipment to tighten it down, or as long as I don't intend to take it apart and put it back together like 50 times, the epoxy will be plenty of threads, and you can take it apart a couple times if you need to, right? Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm doing that so that we don't have to try to get something fancy with putting a, getting a nut into that cavity and then trying to hit it with that's just stupid. We don't want to do that. Right. Okay.
Why don't you just drill the screw right through like that?
Okay, say again?
The big hole. Why don't you just drill the screw right through like that?
Right through like this?
Yeah, don't make this big hole. Just drill a screw right through from the bottom at an angle.
I want to have a certain angle. That's a great question. What he's asking is why don't I just drill straight through like that? What I want to do is have a little bit closer to a normal angle so that when I tighten it up, it's pulling it in this way. If I'm tightening it down that way, it's probably pulling it up more than in. That's a good point, though. I mean, you can do it that way if like you were building something and that's the only angle you had. That's fine. The best angle for fastening it is this, right? And since I don't want to have a screw come through that screw and then through the front or appear anywhere on the front surface, I want it to be up somewhat so that it'll hit my mark in the middle here, but it'll come out, let's say, somewhere over here. And if I had a screw that was that long and I didn't want to put a big cavity in, I could just drill straight down like that and hit my mark and then and make a little pocket here so that the head would be sunken under the surface when it's... Does that... I'm sort of... I know I'm trying to explain things a couple steps ahead of where you guys are. So this is... I guess I'm not... You might not be in a position to ask the questions that are specific to your things yet because you're not there yet. I'm outlining my strategy and some of the tactics I'm using, and I'm expecting that when you get to this point, you're going to ask how you're expected to do it again. Just because everyone's tired, you are not all at the same place. You're not all doing the same design, right? There's maybe a handful, maybe half, are doing something close to the stock design, correct? So this will become more important to you when you get to these steps, okay? And I understand that right now you're probably not. It's not registering as well as it will once you start doing this. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. I'm going to be here on Fridays, and that's also the reason why you can call me or text me anytime within reason. Remember, okay, between 8 in the morning and 9:30 at night, text anytime, any day, and see if we can arrange a phone call if you need one, right? We can even do Skype if you need to, or not, what is it, the other one, something, whatever it is. FaceTime, that's it, yes. Sorry, I thought everything began with I with Apple. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is all possible, okay? I don't want you to not do something because I'm not around, because I don't have students' hours, thank God. So you're not going to see me at 3 in the morning, even though that might be when you're here doing this. Okay. But if you're going to plan ahead, you say, I'm going to do that tonight. I'm going to ask Andy before his 9:30 deadline for, when he turns into a pumpkin, I'm going to ask him before that. Okay. Make sense? Okay. Do you have anything to add? Any genius, wisdom?
No, that was very well done.
Okay. So it must be terrible if John thinks it. Okay. So I apologize if John likes it. Okay, great. So go ahead and do whatever it is you're going to do. I know not all of you are going to be jumping into this because you got a lot of stuff going on. But just be mindful, again, I'll say it again, this is not something you want to wait and do at the last hour. Okay. Okay, thank you for listening. Go forth and be wonderful. Okay.